Hey folks, I'm Melhorn. In this video, we're going over 5 tips for new catfish anglers that will help you catch more fish. Well, if you watch my channel, you'll know that I've got a lot of videos with a lot of tips on how to catch catfish. Now, most of the tips revolve around fishing from a boat because that's where I do most of my fishing from, but a lot of these things can be applied to you folks that are bank fishing, which is where most people are going to start out chasing catfish. The tips I'm going to give you today are some very basic things for folks that are new to chasing catfish. These are not advanced tactics. This is some basic stuff, some basic questions that I get from people a lot of times on guide trips that are relatively new to catching catfish. And I figured if they're asking these questions, there's folks out there that are watching that want the same answers. Now, tip number 1 is don't oversize your tackle. So many people, when they're starting out, think they need a big rod and a big reel and heavy line. Listen, guys, I did the exact same thing. I started out with some fishing rods and some fishing reels that were just silly as to how big they were. We all have dreams of catching a big fish, but you've got to have those fish where you're fishing, first of all, and those big giant catfish are not everywhere. So you're better off starting out with more realistic expectations when you go out there and start to work out some of the techniques of catching fish consistently. To do that, all you need is a simple Carolina rig. Now, if you watch a lot of my videos, you'll see me using double hook rigs, santee rigs, a lot of different things. All you need is a very simple Carolina rig, and it will catch any catfish out there. I'm going to put you a link down in the description section of a video that I've got on how to tie a Carolina rig and exactly what it is. But it is, without a doubt, the most universally useful fishing rig that there is anywhere. It's used in freshwater, it's used in saltwater, it's used for big fish, it's used for little fish. Go with the Carolina rig, some simple hooks, and make and keep your fishing simple. Another thing that a lot of people do in the beginning is, well, they go with the big fish, big bait kind of theory. And again, if you've got big fish in your area, that may work, but most people just want to catch fish. If you're just figuring out how to catch fish, start out with smaller baits. This can be something as small as red worms or night crawlers. Or if you're using some cut bait or pieces of chicken, try something about as big as the end of your thumb. In the beginning, when you're learning how to catch fish, you're better off putting out these smaller baits so that you will get bites and you will catch fish. The other thing is, you want to keep it fun. You want to keep it entertaining. Even if you're catching a fish an hour and it's a small one, it's better than going out there chunking out some big, huge baits on big, giant hooks, hoping to catch a monster when there may not even be any big fish in the waterways that you're fishing. Smaller baits, catch fish, work out your technique and how you fish. You will be much better off than chunking out big baits in the beginning. Now, tip number 3 is pick the right time of day, and that will vary depending on the season. Now, granted, we can't always pick when we get to go fishing, but if you can decide when you're going fishing, here's a basic tip across the board kind of generalization that will at least put you out there in a better time of the day to be fishing. If you're fishing in warmer months, let's say April, May, June, all the way through summer into fall, fish early. Get out there early. Get out there at sunrise. Now, granted, I know a lot of you don't want to be up at sunrise to go fishing. Some of you say that the best part of a sunrise is sleeping through it. But if you're trying to catch fish in those warmer months, you're better off getting out there early, and here's why. The first and most obvious reason is, well, when it's hot, it's more comfortable for us to be out there. If you are more comfortable when you're out there fishing, then you are likely to stay longer. If you are likely to stay longer, your odds of catching fish go up significantly. Second thing is, depending on where you're fishing at, especially if you're fishing on a large public lake or reservoir, boat traffic and jet skis and all that stuff come into play. Later in the day it gets, the more and more recreational boat traffic you will have. You guys that are confined to the bank, this translates into a lot of wake and a lot of splashing, which may not be the best thing for catching fish. So that's another thing to consider that should make you get out of bed, set that alarm so you're out there first thing in the morning. Now, one other thing is that fish seem to be more active early in the day. Now, whether this is from the lower amount of sunlight, UV, that type thing, or if it's water temperatures, fish just seem to feed more early. So it's one more reason to get up a little bit early and get up there and fish before that sun gets high and hot in the sky. Now, one important thing is picking your bait. That's probably one of the biggest questions that a lot of people have that are starting out learning how to catch catfish. I always tell people, if you're just starting out and you want to catch a catfish, go with worms, red worms, night crawlers, stuff you can dig up in the yard, stuff you can buy at the bait store. It will catch fish. The cool thing about using worms is it not only catches catfish, it will catch other fish. It will catch bass, it will catch bluegill, it will catch walleye, it will catch just about anything that swims in the water. And this is an important point because it gives you the ability to work your way up the food chain when it comes to picking baits. Not only can you fish with worms, red worms, night crawlers, that type thing, stuff you dig up in the yard, not only will that work to catch the catfish, but it will work to catch other fish, bluegill, brim, those type things that, if they are legal to use where you're at, make excellent bait. Listen, I know when you're starting out, you probably don't know how to throw a cast net so you can catch shad or anything like that. So you're left having to do what I call working your way up the food chain. Start by catching small fish and use those for bait to catch bigger fish. So pack those worms. Worms are a great bait. If you want something different besides worms, maybe they're too yucky or gross or whatever for you to mess with, maybe you don't have a bait store near you, chicken. It's hard to beat chicken breasts. Small chunks of chicken, as big as the end of your finger, make excellent catfish bait, and catfish pretty much anywhere in the country will eat chicken. So it's a easy, affordable, convenient, and it's a bait that's pretty much anywhere that you're fishing in America. The last bit of advice is technology. Use technology. Technology is your friend. We are lucky that we live in a world that you don't have to hang out at the local bait and tackle shop to figure out where to find fish and where to go fishing and what to use. You can figure out a lot of stuff on your phone. You can figure out a lot of stuff on your computer. The other cool thing about using your phone and using your computer at home is you can utilize some of the mapping technology that some of the apps like Navionics have. These give you information that I never had starting out as far as depths of water and how close you are to varying depths of water, drop-off, shallow areas, points. So that if you are fishing from the bank on a public lake, a public river, you kind of know what is near you based on where you're getting access. If you're fishing from a boat ramp, you can look at the Navionics app and get a good idea of what's around you. Maybe walking 100 yards up the bank provides you an area that has a steep drop-off or a shallow area or a point that goes out. So use technology. The other thing is there's a lot of Facebook fishing groups out there. Now, some of them can just be full of unhappy people with a lot of negative comments, but there are also folks in there that are willing to give you advice and tips on how to catch fish, how to start out catching fish. Catfishing America is a great one that I am on frequently on Facebook. Check it out. There's plenty more. A lot of them are geographically specific to where you're at in the country, so you may have one that is designed around the body of water that you're fishing on. Well, there you go, folks. There's a few tips for you that should hopefully help you put more catfish on the end of your line. Well, folks, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Here are a couple more videos that I think you're gonna like. I'd watch that one and then that one. No, do that one first and then that one. I don't know, just watch them both. They're both good.